CJ. Thank you so much for attending today's webinar. We have a special webinar today with Jamie and Ashley from DeepCrawl, who are obviously, we have a theme going on here. So before we get started, let's do some introductions. Jamie, you want to go first?
Absolutely. So my name is Jamie Indigo. I'm a senior technical SEO lead at DeepCrawl. Fancy way of saying I'm not a robot, but I speak bot.
And my name's Ashley, and I have the pleasure of working with Jamie. I'm the VP of Professional Services at DeepCrawl. We get a lot of wonderful data from DeepCrawl and work on a team with some really clever tech SEOs. So days are good around here.
All right, cool. So Beetlejuice. We're about to get started. You did not shrink. So I was just seeing if that worked or not. Today's webinar is on website health checks, the top technical SEO tips and tools that you can implement in partnership with DeepCrawl. I'd like to thank the both of you for joining today. And just to give some of our stragglers a chance to log on, I'm going to go over a little bit of housekeeping. So this webinar is going to last probably about 30 minutes or so. Over the course of the webinar, if you do have questions, make sure you enter them into your GoToWebinar control panel question box. We're going to be monitoring those questions. There might be a couple of times that I jump in during the slides to answer some that are specific to what you're presenting, and then the rest will be going over during a Q&A session towards the end of the webinar. Also, we'll be launching a couple of polls, so we highly encourage all attendees in our audience to answer these poll questions. Doesn't only give the folks at DeepCrawl some great information, but it's going to give Ashley and Jamie an idea, a better idea of the audience, your experience, this and that, so they can craft their delivery accordingly. So that's pretty much everything from a from an overall housekeeping perspective. Obviously, with the Beetlejuice Halloween theme today, we also want you to feel free to take screenshots of the pair presenting and the great information of the slides. Share that on Twitter and any other social media channels with hashtag SCJ webinar, tag Ashley, tag Jamie, and tag DeepCrawl. And on that note, I'm going to hand everything over to the both of you.
Ooh, fantastic. I get to kick us off. So, Lauren, I love your optimism that it'll end in 30 minutes. We're going to try our best. Jamie and I are not known for our brevity, and we get so excited about this stuff. So we've practiced a bit. We have a good rhythm down. I just would love to let people know to find us if you have more questions or just want to talk about this, or even if, I mean, we don't go into a lot of sales talk with DeepCrawl. We love it. There's a reason we work there. It's fantastic. But if you would like a demo or like to learn more, we'll get in touch with the right folks. So, but right now we just want to talk about the things that we love with Tech SEO. So we've got a little bit around Tech SEO across teams. Just want to level set because we really feel like we've been put in a bit of a corner historically, and we're breaking out of it. We're leading the charge. We want every team in your company to be talking about Tech SEO. And then we've got a few main pillars to address. So the first thing for me is just that technical SEO isn't just us. Like, it isn't just the technical SEOs that do the work. Yes, I love our wonderful little group of folks, and some of the technical SEO communities out there fill my whole heart. Shout out to Women in Tech SEO. My entire team, all the women in my team are in there, and we have a majority women team, so it's great. But it really should be going across in terms of awareness on what to do other teams. It acts as a support and as a multiplier for all of the different goals. So this is where I like to talk about the different goals and how tech SEOs think about them. So like developers get left out quite a bit. SEO tends to, from the surveys we've seen, especially the one that Area and Women in Tech SEO just put out, is that SEO often sits under marketing. And there's this really weird, sometimes tension between the relationships. But the way DeepCrawl sees it is developers are artists. Like, they are putting things together. They are builders. And more than anything, it fills their cup to see their sites and their tools being used. So technical SEO can help increase usage. For all of the traditional SEOs that just do a ton of stuff, I know you're working across different areas. We want to get you more mileage. marketers, all of the awareness and connections that they're going to be making with people, your website needs to honor those. Same with media buyers. Like, let's make it cheaper for you to buy those ads and get more from those users once they hit. And I put decision makers here, but we should all care, right, about sustainability and ROI. Capitalism is kind of a shitbag full of questions, but I like to work, I like to make money, and I want us all to keep our jobs. So let's let technical SEO do the lifting there. Poll question number 1. Would love to know from the group here, how much does your marketing team prioritize website health? And website health is, a big chunk of that is technical SEO, but obviously a broader role in just keeping those websites alive and working. And I want to know how much they prioritize it, how much are they giving money or resources, and how much they're talking about it. All right, I see the poll is in progress.
So we launched it. 45% of you have voted already. So let's try to get more. What percentage do you all want? 90, 95, 70?
I just
Ooh,
love how many people are giving us their Wednesday afternoon right now. Thank you
I
all.
know. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, can we get 66 attendees in honor of Halloween and
Happy spookies.
happy spookies? Yes, please. It's witching season.
Cool. So we
do have
have 75% of you all have voted. Let's do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna go ahead and close the poll.
great.
And can you guys see the results, by the way?
I can on my screen, but it doesn't look like it's sharing.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
How much does your marketing team prioritize website health in terms of budget and resources allocated? 38% in the middle at 3, 25% around 4, 17 at 2, next to lowest, 14% at the highest, and then 6% at the very lowest. So I'm gonna go ahead and hide the results and then back to you all.
This is good. This means that we have room to grow. Now, can you, so Lauren, it took away my screen share. It took away my presentation. Is there anything I need to do to get us back here? Let's see.
Not sure. Might want to maybe try switching a slide. You closed it. Now opening it back up.
Yeah, let's go. Let's get back on
You need
here.
like one of those technical difficulty get you signs, but it's like a sandworm swallowing.
Exactly.
Lauren.
Simon, I don't know. That was a little funky how that happened. Because now it has eaten my whole presentation and I'm not that used to GoToMeeting. Jamie, we have another poll coming up real quick on what leadership spends, and I think it's going to be even like equally or more depressing now, because I'm guessing that if marketers are fighting for us only at that middle of three out of 5, then leadership isn't doing much more either. So let me pull up the slides, but Jamie, give me quick tips real quick on how to sell folks to invest in technical SEO.
Absolutely. So I love that Google search is now under Google developers. They made that pivot in 2018. And what that took with it was a prioritization of, this is code runs in order. I need to be cooperative. So SEO for a long time, it was you put in your tickets and they were SEO initiatives. My background is as a PO. My background is working across a lot of teams and doing portions of collaboration. And I find that when you come to a team who wants to build a good thing and you go, hi, I see you've got an initiative going out. How can I help you get the most out of that? Can I help you QA? Can I help make sure this is discoverable? This is meaningful. When you offer that, this initial buy-in, as goodwill work, they see the results. And when they get to see their work not only succeed, but be leveraged by your support, you get allies. And the best way to work in large environments, I have found, is to be that support player, be that ally. And a lot of times when you listen across teams, they all have a common woe. They're all facing similar challenges, but they refer to it in different ways. It's one of the big challenges of technology. When you talk to a merchandiser, what you call a title may not mean the same thing to them. So taking that time to sit down and drop the assumptions, play no dumb questions. Hey, what does that word mean to you? It's a great way to get that advocacy, that trust, and that communication so you truly understand what each other is saying.
I think what's happening, Lauren, is the poll functionality is just somehow killing what I'd like to show. So let me see if I can get through the next poll, if that's okay, and hop into some of our core content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Well, you know, when you start to share your screen, we have the
Yeah.
slide and then it goes back over to your desktop.
Yeah, no idea
Yeah.
There.
why it's doing that. Ooh, did we get it?
We
Okay.
got
Yeah,
it
we're
back. We're
back.
back.
Oh my gosh.
And
Okay. So if you would like
awesome.
to report me to my manager for incompetence, his name is Alex Schaefer. So feel free to do that because Lordy, presentations aren't my jam. But this kind of plays on what Jamie was saying. Essentially, like we have the tools to see what's going on. That's our job. We have the skills to help troubleshoot it. But the most important thing is that we want to multiply the effect of everyone. This is no longer just a technical SEO tinkering thing. This is the concrete foundation. These are the walls. This is the temperature control. This is essentially the foundation and the experience that users have moving through your business.
SEO in 2021 beyond is cooperative magic. You cannot get to page one. You cannot create that experience users want by just doing really good keyword research. You've got to team up.
And we thought it was going to be an introvert safe haven. So we're going to go through a few key areas. Try and be quick, but discoverability, performance, accessibility, and security are really how Jamie and I really shore up how we look at technical SEO and how we talk about it.
Absolutely. So I always like to remind folks when they have a bit of a grievance with how Google has crawled their site or the rate at which they're crawling their site, which means they're indexing assets. Google's not crawling your site to be a good guy. This is an altruism base. They are a private company and truly don't owe you anything. They're crawling you because they want something out of it. In order to get something out of it, that resource has to be consistently available at a consistent address. And it has to be able to find its friends. So when we look at crawling, it's really the idea of, is that resource there consistently? Can I find the content on it consistently? If you've got third-party tools that are generating all of your happy, fun, go time content, I'm gonna need you to knock that off because we run into trouble. Googlebot is not this Easter Island style monolith that we all come and bring our offerings of content and joy to. It's code. Code runs in order. We need to consider how it's discovered. Is it a 200 response code? Is it giving a 307? How is it playing into this? And then when it builds the page, are those resources consistently available? Are they useful? Are you shipping a ton of code that no one needs? We're very lucky SEOs. We're always at desktops. We probably have 4 browsers, 5 machines. I've got like 7 at this point of laptops I'm essentially and I'm doomed. We are lucky. We have great internet connections, but most users out there are on a mid-range 3G device with a low CPU. So trying to construct a page, you know, the thing that you've made with all the bells and whistles and magic to it, you're gonna time out that poor little box.
Yeah.
We need to have performance sites to reach those users. Your bells and whistles don't mean anything if we're running into, did you want to kill this page? Let's just put it out, let's old yeller this page because it's not working for anybody. So how do we build these in meaningful ways? We're going to ship what we need. We're going to prioritize loading what matters when it matters. When a third-party vendor comes to us and says, I have a magic solution, you just need to put the script beneath the opening head tag. You tell them not today.
I like that your
Protect
screenshot
the
is
head.
life here. Do I want to kill? Yes, probably. Go to the nihilism of
Don't let your site join the newly dead, all right?
Please come with us for the witching season.
The
So
process
Jamie,
of
maybe
building
let's.
these pages is complicated.
It is. And I think there was this tendency to really say JavaScript is a nightmare. And you know what? Sometimes it is, but it also makes the web really wonderful. And so for us, it's just a matter of like cleaning house, getting rid of stuff you don't know, showing a lot of really pretty images, but just doing it right. There are a couple tools that can help you there. And that we get the core content showing as quickly as possible. So Jamie's kind of a master at this. My God, she has done so many presentations on core vitals and performance and how to get everything enhanced and get it to the render as quickly as possible. We're not going into depth here because there are a ton of great conversations and you should hit her up to talk about it. But I just want to toss out a reminder here that performance, the the page experience algorithm update that Google pushed, not just to us, but we hear other business units talking about it. It's like, it's one of the first algorithm updates, except for maybe mobile first, where I had people from other departments going, hey, what is this?
The
It's
Google
a,
Trends data shows more devs than SEOs are looking into this. They want that performance site. This is a great time to get
yeah,
rid
and
of tech debt.
you're to tech that so we can innovate. And Jamie, that's like a good point. Like, where do we go to find our documentation? It's all Google Developer Docs. If you are interested in SEO at all, I feel like you should go hunt around and hang out there, because that is where the gold is.
The Core Vitals project is open source. It's on GitHub. You can go in and look at the latest pushes, what bugs are open. You can contribute and be part of this. And it's honestly quite fun.
It is quite fun. I love this. And just remember, like, I'm tossing in accessibility, securities after that, but page experience is part performance, but it's also, making sure the site's secure. We'll go into that in just a second. Making sure that it's mobile friendly, no brainer. I would challenge you all to get off your Wi-Fi and go for a long walk on your phone and try to use your site, try to use your client site, try to convert, try to become active in a conversation. To experience that frustration. The last part is interstitial ads, which I get it. Everyone needs to make money. Be smart. You don't have to annoy folks to make money. And I get your revenue will go up in the short term, but it is a slippery slope. And people who do clever ads are just so magical. I like it. There's so much creativity out there.
I mean, this is just a quick slide to highlight the complexity that goes in, not just for search engines, but for a browser. You are stacking up resources for them to access to build together a page. So fundamentally, when you're putting something on your site, ask yourself, how do I measure if this is successful? How do I measure that success versus the performance deficit it's going to cause? Be willing to have no dumb questions conversations.
Jamie actually talks about that a lot in our team. And right, this is going to tie in, I swear, but if you hear a barking in the background, I am fostering a dog who is kind of a noisy little turd, but we love him anyway. 10 of 10 recommend fostering dogs, other animals, kids, or a sense of kindness and gratitude and curiosity on your team. So there we go. The no dumb questions is one way that we've been able to translate that directly onto our team. And I hope that you all have that safety when talking to folks in the companies that you're at. And if you can't find it there, talk to us or talk to the other great SEO communities out there. All right. Here's my favorite part. Man, I'm sure a lot of you folks have heard me drone on about this, and I will forever, because accessibility is the best. Taken some of this content from Ruth Everett, who is one of the best human beings that exists, not only in the SEO world, but outside of that. And this really just shows that accessibility is not just, I mean, we've talked about it a lot, like Google being like a drunk, myopic teenager. And we want them to access or see the content, or folks who may have visual impairment, but accessibility goes so much beyond that. And so instead of just thinking about how you can render in a way without those scripts, or how folks can browse on a screen browser, I want you to think more about how everyone can access the site. Do they understand what's happening, even if they have other challenges ahead of them? So part of that could be something like vision or hearing. Part of that could be motor control issues. Part of that could just be cognitive issues. I would like you to pay attention to the potential neurodivergent or atypical minds that are on your website, and making sure that you're getting them to the funnels that you want them to get with, that they can interact with the site. And also, when I think about web accessibility, Jamie, you tell me if I'm way off here, but I think about data access. So it's not just human accessibility, but it's that, the world out there doesn't have access to cheap data. In the US, I think we take that for granted, and a lot of other countries, but for some places, they are literally paying per byte. So not only are you trying to get them a good experience, but if you're forcing something with too many bells and whistles that don't do a damn thing, that you haven't optimized, your site, your content, your message all becomes inaccessible for reasons that you may have totally overlooked.
Absolutely agree with you. And it's so important to remember that having an open access web, having something that's available to everyone, benefits you as a human, And we should always be human first in our approach to why we're putting information on the internet. But hear me out, bots don't have eyes and ears. So when you build things in meaningful ways, semantically lay them out, use the area properties, you're helping that construction for everyone. Challenge yourself, go out there, get a cheap phone, use bad Wi-Fi, try and interact with your site. If you have someone, have your drunk friend try and convert, just hear me out. Have a drunk friend try and convert on your site and you will get the best UX feedback about how this is engaging to a user. And when it comes to shipping so much data that they're spending money trying to load your page rather than converting on your site, weigh those two. Which one did you want them to do?
I have stopped drinking for the most part, but I will be your drunk friend if you need me to. I will set myself up as tribute. Also, if you don't have any drunk friends, ask a neighbor, especially like, hey, no judgment, because I'm getting up there. I'm nearing 40, but ask someone who is maybe not a power user. Ask someone who hasn't been on your site or understands what your goals are. Give them a goal to accomplish, buy a t-shirt, sign up for a newsletter, something, watch them and like shut your mouth. It's like literally the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Like harder than parenting, which my kids are goddamn maniacs. But watching someone use your site that's never used it on their phone while you keep your mouth shut is ridiculous. And then going to this is so the WCAG and area profiles, just a real quick takeaway. These are massive failures that are happening almost everywhere. The low contrast one is easy. I know light gray and white looks slick. Ugh. Let's go to the next phase and just make it readable. Kind of like Jamie's saying, like, do you want people to pay to load your page or pay to buy your products? But making sure that some of these most common failures are taken care of as well. And a lot of these are templamatic site-wide changes that you can make. And a lot of them are just good SEO. Like I like deep crawl because we have built-in reports that will find me all of this immediately. So I like to find them at scale and fix them too. All right, last part I'll put about accessibility, because although I want everyone to be good humans and be kind and do things for everybody to access more information, that doesn't always sell. I will often go to, hey, you can make more money. I think it's something like over a third of the population, at least in the US, is considered disabled in some way or has accessibility hindrances. That's a lot of wallets that aren't open if you ignore them. And if that fails, then I go to, do you want to get sued? Because folks can take you to court for blocking access to information or services. Usually that gets someone attention. I don't mind playing hardball like that.
People
Start nice,
aren't the
get mean.
problem. It's the boundaries we put up. It's the faux boundaries we put up because we've constructed an idea of what users should do and be capable of. Let's drop those assumptions. Let's play no dumb questions. Come with humility, come with curiosity, and go, how do I serve you, the user?
Okay, so this one is part of the page experience, which I realize as tech SEOs, we focus a lot on core web vitals, but zooming out a little bit, there are lots of ways that you could get into security. There are lots of ways for you to just erode all trust in your fan base, any brand loyalty. I mean, it's smart folks are cheating the system because smart folks can. I wish all those brilliant minds would put their energy toward good, but they don't. And honestly, these people are doing really brilliant things that are jeopardizing your business. So security is important. There are lots of things about it. I'm going to do like a little quick plug. DeepCrawl is working more on trying to build out website intelligence, but not tackle other parts of SEO. Like we know what we do well. We can love data. We love technical SEO. We love website health, but we're going to have some cool things coming out in terms of security at scale and some auditing and some accessibility stuff. So I'm very excited.
Just don't make me learn how rankings work.
Okay. Don't make me learn how 4 pages in mobile translates through. Nope. I feel like maybe I just rose some blood pressure. Actually, there was less drama on Twitter than I thought there would be with Google's announcement of the scrolling SERP.
Do you think people like it? Like, as an SEO, and like, it'd be really easy to say, hey, you took away like the page by page by page analysis, right? But
Yeah.
I'm thinking at the end of the day, like users want to scroll up and down. Like they want that thumb to go in multiple directions. So
and
does it really matter?
position's not impacted. That data still tracks. If you're position 20, you're still position 20. It's just a matter of,
Right.
it's actually less friction for the user to get to second pages. So if anything, maybe we're opening up people to exploring more results than page one, taking away the omnipotence of a single page of choices.
Oh no,
And
democratizing it.
not defining intent for the user as well, right? So
Yeah.
there's been so many changes in the past 2 years where the top 10 have changed, where it's like 80% informational, 20% transactional, to 100% informational, 0% transactional. But the ability to scroll through multiple intents and make that decision does leave it up to the user at the end of the day, as opposed to, did you mean to search for this? I know you searched for that, but did you mean to search for this? Now they can go through and pick out anything. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what data comes out of this.
Yeah. Ashley Berman Hale has thoughts and opinions. Nothing new here, but I have a couple things. Like SEOs, yeah, honestly, we have to think as people first. So I'm not as concerned about that, and I do think you'll get more clicks probably if you are on page 2 or 3 now. Like that opens up a lot of fun there. But as a user, I really hope that they're using some sort of history API push state so that if I wanted to share a query with someone, which I've done a lot, like I will send it to my mama or I'll send it to a client and be like, take a look at this. I know it's highly personalized, which is why I take screens too, but it's got to be that thing where I can push some kind of static URL to get them to where I was. I think that's an important consideration with accessibility. And I think Google's pushed that with like single page apps. So I think we should keep that going. And then the other part is I'm an Android user, which means I either get like secret like high fives or a lot of glares from Apple users. But man, Google Discover, if they could fix the content that they are suggesting to just be a little better, but keep those features of, the images and the scroll through and whatnot, I think that's a really amazing compromise. And maybe that's where Google's going. Like it's possible they're trying to bring the best of that. I think that they really sucked on the algo of delivering the content, but maybe it is something where more images and infinite scrolling, they've seen that it leads to happier folks.
Agreed.
Yeah, another quick tip on that one. So a couple months ago, Google had a case study saying, hey, dorks, use the max image preview large robots tag, goes in the head of every page. If you have a super lovely image, when you're in Google Discover, we're going to show the big one, which means more clicks, more traffic, all that lovely stuff. It is not just for articles. We have told all of our clients, just slap that sucker on the top of every page. Discover goes beyond articles. And if they're merging those two texts more, like beautiful, wonderful, I want that in place. All right. Hey, look, Jamie, we did a wicked good job of not talking too much about every single thing, which means we have time for questions. I'm impressed.
We have time for questions.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Lauren, what we got out there?
Well, we have a lot of questions that have come in, and I'll get started. So first of all, one of the first questions came from Afzal. Afzal asked, do you think that to take full advantage of technical SEO, a marketer should also know coding, development, etc., or should they rely on tools and then ask developers to do the task?
My opinion is B. I don't need you to be the jack of all trades. I want you to be spending your brain meats on good marketing stuff and just understand and appreciate the technology that supports that. That's my take.
I don't think you need to learn how to do the code. I think you do need to learn how to ask when you want code. Go sit with your team. Go to stand up with your developers. You don't have to say anything. In fact, if you actually make it through without saying anything, you get a cookie. Your goal here is to embrace that curiosity. Let's embrace the scientific method. Let's observe. Let's make hypotheses. Let's observe how our dev teams work. Let's hypothesize how I would break down a ticket in a meaningful way. So they want to make good things. How do they know what good means?
Yeah, man, use it as a chance to be friends with your devs too. There are lots of cool tools. We have an automation hub, and I like it because it's basically, I wouldn't say forcing, but it's making SEO and devs friendlier. It's kind of the same way HubSpot pushes SEOs and content folks together. I feel like DeepCrawl's Automation Hub is doing a good job at bringing the collaboration and visibility between devs and SEOs. You don't have to do their job, just be their friend.
One thing I like doing during consulting onboarding or even before signing off on a project is if I feel it's going to be dev heavy, I want to talk to somebody in the development department first before someone in marketing signs off on it. Because the last thing you really want to do as a contractor or consultant is give them all of this great information that you know is going to help fix things
They can't do
and it
anything with.
never gets implemented, right? And then how do you prioritize it if you don't know how the development teams work internally? If you don't know the release schedules, you don't know what else they're focusing on. Maybe to your point, they are focusing on core vitals already. So is handing over a 40-page document on making the site faster really going to lead to anything? Or is talking to them about where they are in that process, reviewing what they've put together, and then maybe giving some feedback or adding something that was overlooked helps to build that trust and it helps to collaborate, right? As opposed to just pushing a phone book full of
DIY.
fixes. Yeah, exactly.
What'd you
Exactly.
say, Jamie? It was like 2022 SEO openness, friendships. I don't know. I got the feeling, but not the words right.
Cooperative magic. It's
Cooperative.
about working together to spell cast. You're going to come there with the components and be like, this is what we're going to do. They're going to cast it. You're going to help. It'll be great.
I dig it. What other ones do we have, Lauren? Did they ask us some
Awesome.
hard ones? I like hard questions.
Oh, let me see here. I'll go through the questions to see what's, oh, here's one. What about utilizing WebP based images on the site? Bilal has tried to implement them, gets security issues, and is a little bit worried about how the Safari browser handles WebP images when it's more of a Google only thing, which kind of gets me a little bit in. Well, let's start with this. Let's start with WebP, and then I'm going to ask a follow-up question.
We just had a conversation internally about WebP, which is, I don't know as much about how security and Safari's treating it, to be honest. Sorry, good homework for me. But I know that internally we've talked about like it's great, but it's heavy and takes time. So for a lot of sites, it's not even scalable. But one of our newcomers on our site, shout out Chris Spann, we keep hiring wicked smart people, but he was using Squoosh with a lot more luck for scalability and just getting that performance in quickly.
What's Squoosh? Is it like a plugin or backend tool to minimize the
I believe it's an image
image?
pipeline that's going to convert things
Okay.
into a uniform format. So when it comes to image optimization, if that's your critical breakpoint, manual is not sustainable. This is a place where you look at, okay, how are these images brought in? Can we incorporate a pipeline that's going to go ahead and take that 10 meg PNG that the well-intended intern put on the blog, go ahead and convert that to the proper format and compress it. Work with the developers. I know the WebP documentation on web.dev will have a chart that lays out where the support stats are and where they're coming. If you don't have that, you can always do fallback methods. So if the browser is this and match that, there's network connectivity APIs that lets you decide that when the initial connection is made, so the resources you serve back are those that best serve the user on the device or connection they have.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Also had a follow-up question on just overall gauging performance utilizing tools. So a couple of the attendees are happy with tools like GTmetrix, but they're looking for more that kind of take things over the top. So any recommendations you have on that end in terms of tools that I guess overall judge site performance and usability?
Oh, I have thoughts and opinions here. I am here for it. So I love a lot of tools. I love a lot of tools for different use cases and for diving and getting really good diagnostics. Here's the thing. Lab data is always going to be lab data. And we do have access to real life, real human data. So if you want to start at a baseline and actually figure out what matters in the real world as opposed to in a petri dish, use that PageSpeed Insights API. You can query 25,000 pages a day using that and get the crux data on a URL level. Love doing this for deep crawl. We make a recurring list of the 25,000, segment them out in meaningful ways, bucket them into good, poor, and needs improvement for each of the metrics. And that way, when you're making improvements, you can show explicitly, and here's the line. Here's that beautiful visual, because your C-level is going to scan that email for about 14 seconds, and having a really nice screenshot is your friend. Setting up good data reporting, particularly that based on real humans, is my best advice to you. There's a lot of great tools that do a lot of great things, but it's not the same as a real human being.
I agree with everything Jamie says. I'm smart enough to know my place there.
Could you all go on to Crux a
Yeah.
little bit more? Because I think Crux is
Yeah.
often overlooked in terms of the
I
field
don't
data
know
versus
why.
lab data. Yeah, I know, right?
It's
That's the
literally
same
the
difference.
source that Google's using in the page experience update. Crux is the Chrome User Experience Report. And once a month, it publishes a new fresh set of data. It's the second Tuesday of every month. And it captures users who are meeting the 3 requirements to be in the data report, how they actually experienced your site. And that gives you the bevy of screen sizes, devices, connections, all of it at once. You get to see real humans. And that means when you're prioritizing what to fix, you can make that decision based on what's impacting real humans. In fact, the data available in Search Console, that beautiful chart, that's like, here's your core vitals, these things are poor, and you click in, go to mobile first, of course, and it groups things together for you, and that does so much legwork. So that is URL level crux data, grouping together based on a common issue. PageSpeed Insights Core Vitals tend to follow patterns. LCP is perhaps a CDN, a page template. They're going to follow a grouping. When we see CLS, it's going to be a node. That node can appear across multiple pages, but leverage that because it's going to tell you whatever's unifying these pages together is the real life issue, is the real life bottleneck. Because we can go in a lab and dissect a page 15 ways a Sunday and spend so much dev time and money and energy and not get something meaningful out of it. We all want to make good things. Let's start with good data.
We have some quick ways to look at that too. So Rachel Anderson, who was on our team, who's brilliant, put a couple blog posts on Deep Crawl to just show you how to walk through really quickly how to make Crux dashboards that update every month for your website, or how to do them competitively. So we have a template where you can go in and add all your friends, competitors, and then see how they're doing that refreshes. Go take a look.
Core Vitals is like outrunning a bear. You don't have to be the fastest, just not the slowest.
Yeah. I was going to say climb a tree because that's always my go-to in a zombie apocalypse, but bears are really good at climbing trees.
They're really good at it.
Just about everything. Next question is how to tell if lazy loaded content is being seen by search engines or not. Are those images being deferred actually? And how does that work at the end of the day?
You absolutely have access to this data. So go ahead and choose a representative set of URLs that have the issue or have the concern that you're looking at. I want you to go into URL Inspector. Don't do a live test. I want you to view the cached version of it. There's a copy paste button. Take that, put it in a text editor. I want you to look for the content you're worried about being loaded. If it's in there, you are fine. Lazy loading is honored very well by the search engine. If you do a live test, you are going to get more information that's used for diagnostics, but please keep in mind live tests bypass Google's extremely aggressive cache. Because I don't know if you knew us, people who make content on the web are like, crawl this every day. That's why they don't look at sitemap frequency anymore. It's why they don't acknowledge the cache control header, because we're always like, no, it's new, and it's not. So if you're curious, go Search Console, URL Inspector, copy paste, put it into a doc, look for the pieces you're worried about. If they're there, you are good. Don't rely on screenshots.
Yeah, as long as they require user interaction to show, I think you're usually pretty safe with them not showing up. You just got to use it intelligently.
Nothing that requires a tap, a scroll, locations, they're not going to do that. If you are waiting for them to click enter or agree before going into your site and rendering content, that content is not available.
Got you. So in terms, as a follow-up, in terms of like rendering content and rendering issues, what are some of the best tools and ways to diagnose those rendering issues besides diving into the cache itself?
Mm.
Not the cache. Don't go to a SERP cache. That's a different beastie.
Go to your
Clarification.
DevTools first. There's like a really good network tab that can give you a lot of information. But if that's a little scary, because it's a lot of data, I also just like to make folks use like the mobile friendly tool or anything and show their boss and be like, this is what they see, or the page speed insights with the screens. I mean, there's lots of ways to really easily see it before you diagnose it. And for me, it's, you gotta win a few hearts and minds before you ask for the resources to fix it.
I would
I'm a big
recommend
fan
use
of,
Dave
oh, go ahead.
Smart's, or sorry, Tame the Bots has a great fetch and render tool. Does a great job if you are looking to do that, but you can use a whole bunch of dev tools. So here's the thing, when you ask, you know, should I go learn code and make all the things? Probably someone else has already made it. Start there. Start by talking to those brilliant folks and ask, have you made this? Check out Dave's tools, check out things in Chrome developer tools. Yeah.
Dave Smart is great. I'll shout out to him. I feel like he's a nice human. He makes us all smarter, and actually not just individuals on the team, but DeepCrawl uses him as a consultant because literally whenever there's a tough problem, he's someone I can always count on. So for any technical SEOs out there, he's a good follow.
Cool. I'm also a really big fan of webpagetest.org and the video run-throughs that they
Oh, that one's
serve
great.
you,
I love the
right?
videos.
Like in terms of like just like, so you can say, hey, you know what, our vitals are at this number, they're yellow instead of green, or they're red instead of whatever, and that kind of can be a little bit impactful, but it can be very unrealistic to your point of it's relevant based upon who you're competing against and yada yada yada. But the ability to take that video capture of the load within a desktop and mobile environment and play them side by side really gets a lot. It can really help with buy-in, right? Because I think you've talked about it a couple of times with like the power of communicating to the C-suite, who will just scroll through an email real quick and hit the back button or whatever it may be. But video, especially in a room, right, where you have an audience, can make an incredible impact at the end of the day. So that's one of my favorite tools on that side. Any other video, any
their
other
dollar
rendering?
sign feature.
Yes.
Like their dollar sign feature. Tell me how much this costs people to load my page is beautiful.
Yeah, what does my site cost? That's from the same crew as webpagetest.org. I'm a big fan. If you do Lighthouse audits, there's the ability to visualize that request tree. And you can see the daisy chains, like I called this third party that called a third party that called a third party. And you can go, well, maybe that would impact my performance. Perhaps there's something afoot here.
I hope it's okay to stop sharing the screen, hoping to see people's lovely faces. So I wasn't just talking to myself there.
I just see your lovely face. Oh, Wheezy, I love you so much.
Halloween spooky cat.
Yeah, no problem. So the next question as well is kind of similar. So outside of DeepCrawl, and we've talked about a lot of different tools today, but outside of DeepCrawl, what are your go-to technical SEO tools and why?
This was a good question asked on Twitter. I had a few that I liked. Again, I feel like Dave Smart's tools, like he has some really specific use cases, especially some around visualization with performance that I like. I think that everybody in your business essentially that looks at or cares about the website or does business on it should log into GSC. I know it's simple and basic, but it's wicked powerful. So get them in there. And then I use Chrome DevTools a lot with my team. So that's kind of my core. It's a little boring, but I'm always like a little bit of a work harder, not smarter. I am in websites a lot and using them. I would almost call that a tool because we forget to do that sometimes.
My bookmarks bar is like Mary Poppins magic bag. I'm going to use whatever tool is going to work best for that. And this is the thing about really good tech SEO and a really good site crawl. It's about the configuration. It's about what you're trying to get out of it. Because if you bloat up a crawl trying to get all the information, as we are wont to do, I too am a data hoarder, so many hard drives over here, but it's not useful. So how would you go ahead and identify what is my goal? How do I measure that? Where do I look for that? What are my markers? and adapt to whatever tool works best for you. I think one of the best tools you have is going to be the communities and reaching out and going, I don't know what this is, but it's here now. And someone's gonna be like, ah, I know that one. I've seen that gremlin before.
Yeah. Yeah, does that count as a tool? Can we just say all the smart humans that are out there and willing to share information? Because by God, there are a lot of them.
There are. So Facebook groups, Twitter, friends, et cetera, et cetera.
I
Also,
will
to your
never
point,
advocate for you to be on Facebook. Let me make that clear.
also to your point, there's a couple of like user testing tools that I have some clients that utilize when they push out new releases. Like one is called Applause, and it basically just crowdsourced bug testing. And I think the members of on the other side of the fence, the people that are doing the bug testing, they get paid or bonus when they find a bug, right? So they're incentivized to do it. And there's really
Absolutely.
only so much that crawlers pick up at the end of the day, from time to time, depending upon what you are using. So the ability to get that real human, and I'm not sure if they're walking down a dirt road testing it on their iPhone 7, right? With with the equivalent, with as far away from a tower as possible. But the ability to be able to at scale have real humans review the site and get back to you on their experience can be quite valuable on that side. Speaking of speed, I actually had a really interesting question come in from Ari. So Ari asks, our site is a retail page and it's very, very slow. So in the e-commerce world, sites are very slow. I can probably think of a number of reasons why. But they're using landing page for ads. So it sounds like they're using maybe a third party, maybe a subdomain to
Pages
drive
dot Marketo.
advertising traffic to, right? Yeah, exactly. And those pages, since they're based upon they're utilizing a third party, are running extremely fast. Is it possible
Oh,
to open up those ad landing pages to Google and position them as being to the top of Google organic, only with landing pages or any suggestions on that side?
Do you want
security
a
risk.
page competing against your own product? Like you're trying to rank a page to buy your product that you can't buy the product on. Fundamentally, it's a band-aid at best.
I get why they want to use it though, because it's hard as hell to get your pages fast. But I also think, wow, that's a third party you're putting a lot of trust into, and that's another security risk. So I think just using the fact saying, hey, this third party that's not even intended for search, and usually ads are one of the heaviest things on a site, the fact that it's beating us is not good. And there are a lot of, Google's actually getting better, I think, at helping with Core Web Vitals. Is it Project Aurora or the Canis project where they're actually giving folks code snippets that make common stuff run wicked fast? Speed is hard, but shared resources are making it a little bit easier. But yeah, I
There's
get it.
great new tutorials coming out on
Good
the
Band-Aid.
YouTube series on web.dev, how to use really basic patterns. So instead of typically, if your site's slow, and I understand your woes here, you're dealing with a lot of tech debt. There's legacy code in there. There's things that were meant to be taken out, but at this point, no one's really sure what would happen if you did. Is it going to break everything? That's very real, and I'm sorry that you're going through that. The best option might be to go, how do we take the key endpoints and data out of this very heavy page and move to a style using very simple, optimized, performant GUIs?
Yes, and speaking of performance GUIs, it also is a nice case for headless e-commerce as well, right? While we're on a Halloween theme, because
Why has no one made a CMS, headless CMS called Horseman? Seriously, take the idea, someone run with it.
Just send us free.
headless is it Ichabod Crane or the flaming jack-o'-lantern head would be
The marketing
amazing.
does itself.
I know, right? So would you go over the concept of headless and how it can be helpful at the end of the day, especially for companies that may be switching e-commerce from platforms from, year to year or something along those lines?
You want me to take this one? I will gladly do it because I love talking about SPOs. So essentially, headless means we have a template. We have a little bit of a Mad Libs. And when the page is requested, the corresponding product data is going to populate that template. This is beneficial to a user because after the first page load, any other page using that template is lightning fast. It's an API call, a single XML push or a JSON push, rather than being a whole new page load. There are considerations. You want to update those URLs. You want to make sure the tracking is getting those virtual page views if you're using Google Analytics. It can be absolutely wonderful. Also be aware, you still need to only ship what you need. If that template comes with a lot of bloat, that quick change and progressive page loads isn't going to benefit you. And do remember that Googlebot is stateless, so it's not going to have the benefit between page loads.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm familiar with a couple sites that are using kind of a hybrid headless program where you don't enter the e-commerce cart until you hit, like, you don't enter in their case, the big commerce environment until you start the purchase process, right?
No ads, no third-party stuff in your cart.
Mm-hmm.
Don't execute the cart script on every page. That's when someone interacts and uses it. Okay, we don't ship that every page. It's going to be bloat. It's going to be heavy. And if we have a third-party ad that's or pixels scripts that are going on every page, that's how British Airlines got hacked and we had massive data leaks. And it was because they were using a third-party script. They were using a jQuery version, and those who got in there to this third-party script that they're calling on just added 16 lines of code, and we're able to take the information of hundreds of thousands of people. All these things play together. Performance is related to security, is related to accessibility.
Yeah.
And crawlability.
Let's say for accessibility, don't forget that PWAs are great, and a lot of e-coms are using them in different countries. Like let's say India that doesn't have access to cheap data. You can have your entire e-commerce site browsable offline and then only require connectivity after that first cache once someone's checking out. That is a really nice way to allow people to browse and shop on your site in a very data lean way. That's like the PWA use case I love, not the PWA push notifications.
No, I just met you. I'm not letting you do notifications. I'm not going to tell you where I am. Be cool.
Let me read the site first.
I don't know
And don't
you like that.
switch
Calm
the
down.
yes, no buttons, please, like on the push notifications. That's happened to me so many times. I'm so used to hitting no on the left-hand side, and then I'm just hitting the right button without even thinking about it. Next thing I know, I'm getting stuff left and right. So
Switching colors
pretty
or
crazy.
just relying on colors. Colorblind folks can't easily see green or red. That's just rude.
That's me.
Oh.
So which is why I love your costume, by the way, Ashley, because I can totally make all the colors out. Same with you,
Fantastic.
Jamie. Next question that comes in, we've talked a lot of this about like mobile usability and things like that. Like, you know, and it's a very basic question, but how do you speed up a site for a mobile phone? How do you tell if your site's slow on a mobile phone? What are like the most elementary ways to begin testing for overall mobile usability?
Well, I mean,
Correct.
most of the
Has a
testing tools
dashboard.
default to that, right? Like, yeah. So I mean, a lot of the tools are defaulting to that. And if you go into GSC, Google, I see very few sites in our huge collection of deep curl sites that actually aren't using Google as the primary user agent.
Mobile.
I wanted to go ahead.
Oh, you said Google is primary? I was clarifying mobile.
Yeah, sorry, Googlebot, mobile, smartphone, all that jazz. I do want to clarify that, or not clarify. I want to offer that the three biggest things that I see consistently that slow down a site, if you're just looking to tackle them quickly, is all the JavaScript files. Get rid of shit you don't need. Make sure you're on the latest version. Sometimes with a third party, they release new versions that are leaner and then forget to tell their old client base. So, so JavaScript, images, and then fonts. Fonts are weirdly problematic. So if you can at least tackle those three, I think whether you're on mobile or desktop, you're in a much better place. There's always a ton you can do. It's a huge boulder, but you know, most of the tools are going to default to mobile. Take a walk on that dirt road and tackle those three.
I'm going to throw it out here.
70% to
third-party tool. A third-party tool without someone in-house who's actively managing it is also known as a liability.
We're a little weird about security, aren't we? We're a little suspicious.
As you should be.
Yeah.
I see what
Yeah,
Peter
and
does.
to
I
your
don't
point,
trust that.
to your points, fonts can be a very overlooked component of speed and usability. I see, what is it, Font Awesome or Awesome Font showing up in reports all the time from a
Mhm.
blocking and speed issue, right? And just the amount of data that needs to be loaded to load those fonts. And a lot of the time they just reset as well from the user in the front end. So you're getting your default font and suddenly your entire page changes fonts on you. What
Yeah.
happened
Triggering a
here?
massive CLS.
Janky. Yeah, there it
Yep.
is. And I mean, marketing never wants to use web safe fonts. Like, I get it. It's not as creative. So it's funny.
You
This is
don't need
another
12
one that we're
fonts, okay? It's not a hostage note. 3 fonts. 3.
we were thinking about this internally. I was thinking about, I can't write a blog. I'm worthless as a writer, but I do think it'd be worthwhile to put up a few bullet points and tips from our team on our blog about web fonts. If I don't know, do y'all think that's valuable, Lauren? If you're seeing it, like, should we put out a
I
couple
think
tips that we're telling our clients on web fonts?
I think it's valuable for a couple of reasons. One, it is an issue, and then two, very very little people take it seriously. Like
Yeah,
when it's brought up, it's like, oh well, our design team loves that font, or we're all about that. That font is part of our personality. But
part of
you
our
know,
brand.
yeah. But is it part of your brand to the user? Do they associate that font with you when they're reading a post or something like that? Or
Yeah.
are there different options to utilize on your site? The font that you utilize in your logo and call outs and things are one thing, but clogging your site with a font that has to be brought in from that third party environment is something completely different. Speaking of convincing people to change fonts or we talked a little bit about like the power of video and illustrations for C-suite and getting to know the devs. Are there any other tips that either of you have for getting stakeholders outside of marketing to overall like back SEO initiatives?
Hmm. Our we have a new CEO at DeepCrawl, and he's kind of badass. He's pretty fun. He feels like a new grown up in the room that like he gets technical SEO. And him and I did a webinar last week, I want to say. And his big thing is, C-suite needs you need SEO at the table. You need someone, I think, preferably tech because they support everything else. That's the foundation. But get other execs talking about how they need to have a seat at the table, like period, end of story. Once you give them that voice, they will convince you that is their job, to show you how they support everything. But that's the first step. And if it takes, our CEO or other CEOs saying it versus just listening to us, we're used to that. You know how many times we give the right advice and then someone is like, but so and so said, or I need it in print from Google. Um, so it's like, how? I don't know, bully them. I've always elbowed my way in, but if that's the thinking, and if we're going to more of that collaborative magic, the first step that needs to happen is let them be there when they're making decisions. And if there's a problem of how do I have a compelling argument for that, that's a thing that I think the community should all work on together. Those would be the kind of cool things to share and tips, Jamie, that we could do at Broad of like these 3 things helped us have like open the conversation with our finance team, or these are the 3 things that helped us open our conversation with our board members. I just want to already sign Craig up for work he hasn't volunteered for of telling all of their execs to make room for their technical SEOs at the table.
I mean, if you say it here, you can't take it back.
I was like,
Craig
yeah,
already agreed to all of this. Thank you, Craig. We appreciate you from Deep Crawl.
I'm not seeing my Slack light up, so I think we're safe.
Mine just went off. Hi, Craig.
What do you think, Jamie? Like, how are you selling this to people that
With
probably
curiosity.
don't care?
I know. I sit down and I listen to them. I listen to what the priorities are. And again, it's that whole, they probably have the same concerns. They're probably interlinked. It's a matter of going, okay, you've got this initiative, you're blocked here. I know how to help you unblock this here. And if we tie this together, the data point that'll change will also benefit this team over here. So now I can come to them with a solution and go, hey, do you want to get behind this? We work together, we make exceptions criteria. So again, we're trying to make modular reusable components that work across teams and have simple understandings.
I think I know the answer I want to give. Empathy. Jamie brought it up. Gotta listen. Probably have the same problems. That is a very soft, squishy answer, but it is like safe feelings corner Ashley and Jamie over here. Make the
I don't
connection.
think it's soft and squishy. Actually, I think it's a power move to walk into a C-level and be like, tell me your problems. I'm here to
I will
support
listen
you.
to how you feel, as long as you can honor those. Lauren, I told you would be a huge liar for saying we'd wrap this up in 30 minutes.
Yeah, no problem. I am a big believer in empathy myself. Like, what is it like to walk a mile in someone else's shoes, right? How can you connect with them? What are they dealing with? We tend to sometimes think that we walk in a room and we see the CEO kind of come in for 15 minutes and leave, and we think that, hey, they're really busy, they're a very successful person, they don't have time for us. But does anyone have time for them, right? So
Oh, I've camped in front
making,
of C-level doors before. Like, you can't escape me. You got to leave sometime.
yeah, so making that connection can be incredibly valuable at the end of the day, especially if we're trying to get a lot of this stuff pushed through and build a business case for it. You all have talked about CFOs, finance, CEOs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, business cases and case studies can speak volumes on that front. Jamie and Ashley, it's been a pleasure. Any knowledge bombs you'd like to drop before we sign off?
Shit, I wasn't ready for that.
Mm.
No knowledge bombs, but just again, I think, I don't know, thematically, I think Jamie and I talk a lot about asking dumb questions and creating safe spaces for people to do that while also being kind to each other. I love technology, but I'm learning that I love all the humans a little bit more. I think I'm getting softer and gentler in my old age, but y'all are working with people behind every website, behind every initiative, behind every KPI that needs to be hit. So default to kindness. Life's pretty hard out there. We are
It's
too
chaos.
old to
Be
be
kind.
jerks. Yeah. Fair enough, knowledge bomb.
Very good knowledge bomb. So thank you so much for both of you for jumping on today. For all of you who are still on, we are going to be making today's presentation available via video. All of you registrants will get it first before the world at large does. And if you have any questions that you submitted that we did not get a chance to handle, we're going to be shooting that over to Ashley, Jamie, and the Deep Crawl team to take a stab at and hopefully
We're on
include
Twitter.
that in our recap. Sorry?
We're on Twitter. Reach out to us.
And you're on
We're very
Twitter.
active.
Yep.
Absolutely. So we can take the questions there as well. Thank you guys so much. Thank you all so much. I'm about to sign off, and just to let the rest of our audience know, once we do end the webinar today, we're gonna have a quick survey. If you could take a minute or two to fill it out, help us help you with making our webinars better, and feedback on Jamie and Ashley, and especially their costumes and set. I'm still blown away by the candles and the handbook for the recently deceased. That is a nice small detail that totally makes the outfit. And I think I'm gonna watch Beetlejuice tonight. Ashley, you're incredibly on point there from a Beetlejuice perspective.
I
So thank
smile
both
too
of you
much,
so
but thank
much.
you.
Thank both of you
Can I
so
borrow that
much.
wig?
Wig's yours, baby. Yeah, thank you for
Are you
having us.
are you gonna be wearing that for the rest of the day?
I do have a client meeting coming up and don't have time to change. So yeah, I mean, you want me to wear it tomorrow? I have a 10-foot tall squid costume. I couldn't fit in my office, but pretty much between now and Halloween, I will show up in some costume if desired or if I have permission, for sure.
I am here for it.
Nice.
Let's do this.
Good luck getting that off with the cold cream before you later today. All
Thanks,
right.
gang.
Thank you all so much. And thank you for everyone that attended today.